Mike Baum joined now by UFC welterweight champion Kamaru Usman, who defends his title against Gilbert Burns UFC 258 on February 13th. Kamaru, we are getting very close now. How excited are you to be back, man?
I'm excited. It's you almost kind of forget how much you miss this, how much of just kind of a drug this is when you compete and you go out there and you get your hand raised. So I've missed it, and I'm excited to get back in there.
And you're in Colorado right now, right?
Yes, I am actually in Denver, my new home.
Yeah, new home for the long term, are you thinking? Or is this just going to be because of the circumstances here?
Yeah, new home for the long term. I like the attention. I like what I'm doing. I like what where I am in this stage in my career. So yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Fair play. So, how did you make the decision to link up with Trevor and those guys there? I'm sure, as a champion of the world, I'm sure every single gym out there would have gladly opened their doors to you. So, what kind of set this apart in Colorado?
Yeah, I mean it's something that I've kind of been thinking over for a while. It's just having that attention, that extra attention. It was great for where I was. Obviously, in for most of my career, it was great. I liked it. I enjoyed it. Being on that team with a bunch of guys, it was wonderful. But at some point, when the coaches have 30 something guys on the team and they're gone every other week, it makes it kind of difficult for you to get exactly what you feel like you're missing, exactly what you feel like you need. And there was a few coaches that I've been looking at for years that I know have that extra, that attention that I'm seeking, that I really want. And I kind of narrowed it down to a couple of coaches because I feel like their mind works similar. They're just in different places in their approach. And that was Trevor and Mark Henry. But with Trevor, and he wasn't like, oh, you're champion, I'm gonna work with you. I've kind of been in certain places with him before to where I kind of wanted to work with him, but I could tell he only had he was true to himself. He said I only have room for a couple of guys, and I'm full right now. But it just so worked out that an opportunity opened up, and I was able to slide into that slot.
Would you say Justin Gaethje is your main training partner at this point?
Yeah, Justin, Carrington Banks. These are all some of the main guys that I really get to get my hands on a daily basis. So not bad training partners, that's for sure. No shortage of that. Even all the guys here at Elevation Fight Team, a lot of guys, a lot of good guys, a lot of tough guys, and so I'm able to still get that work in for sure.
No doubt. So obviously you have a long history with Gilbert. How many hours or rounds in the gym do you think you guys have put in together over time?
I don't even know. That was never even something that I even put my mind to, because when I train with somebody, when I'm on a team, I do the best that I can to help them at all times. And so I'm not ever really gauging, okay, we're putting in this many time or this many time, or whether, we're going to fight each other at this point. So it was never really something that crossed my mind. It was just me being a good teammate all those years. And we got a lot of time in.
And I'm sure you've seen some of the quotes or maybe the interviews he's been doing over the past week. He's kind of said, as far as your training sessions, like, he got the best of me, I got the best of him. It was pretty even, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want you to go into like precise details because I know that stuff's supposed to stay behind closed doors. But is what he's putting out there accurate, would you say, or do you have a different evaluation?
No, I mean, people are going to say whatever they want to say in order to try to promote themselves or promote the fight. It is what it is. We know what it is. I mean, training is training. And that's the one thing about training is, I love having guys to train with. So I never really give them that extra gear. I never give them what I put out there in my career and in my experiences are actually in there fighting in the cage. So I don't think anyone in training has really seen that or experienced that until they're locked inside the cage with me and I'm getting paid a lot of money to do it. So, training is training. We did it for free for lots and lots of years, and now I get to get paid a lot of money to go out there and show the world.
Would you say there's no bad blood? That's what he says. It says it's all cordial. He likes you a lot. He hopes you guys can remain friends down the line. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean that's up to him. I'm the champion. I'm the king of the mountain, and when I go out there and do my job, it's up to everyone else on how they're willing to take it. So I mean, if he's okay with that and that's how he takes it, then absolutely, no problem with me.
Has the preparation changed this time around? Obviously, you guys were supposed to fight in July. It didn't happen. The very late notice. We know what happened with Jorge stepping in. I mean, he hasn't competed since then. So is the strategies and the approach you took to training camp pretty much identical going into this one?
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows like I obliterate myself in preparation for fights, which is why I've been so hard on my body. But there's a reason I do that. I do that so when I get into a fight, nothing really surprises me, and they know that. Everybody knows that. I go hard on my body. I leave no stone unturned in preparation for my fights, which is why I get the results that I get. And this February 13th will be no different.
And are you pretty happy with the timeline here in terms of where your health is at and everything? I know there was this happening in December or January. Is this pretty perfect timing for you?
This is good timing. I mean, it just I want to compete. I'm just kind of at that point now to where you have to, know when you feel like competing and when you don't feel like competing, and when things align for you. And I feel like competing. It's been a tough one for me getting everything together in the last couple of years and being on that roller coaster that I've been on. But it's time to go to work. And once that's in my mind, that's all that matters. And I go out there and I get the job done repeatedly, time and time again.
And I know you wouldn't take this fight if you weren't feeling comfortable enough to do it physically, but I know you'd be stuff you talked about on like Joe Rogan's podcast and how strong mentally you are and everything. Is that what just kind of makes the difference here, is your mental strength?
Absolutely. And that's another thing is some guys might know and some guys might not know where I am mentally. This is not something that I just started doing a year or two ago. I've been doing this for a long time. And, it's just my mental capacity and what I'm willing to endure and go through in order to be victorious I just don't think it's just kind of unmeasurable for a lot of guys. They just can't measure up to that. So, February 13th, I aim to go out there and I do it once again.
Do you feel Gilbert is the toughest challenge of your title reign so far, or do you think maybe Colby or Jorge were maybe more challenging stylistic matchups for you?
Absolutely. I think Gilbert is the toughest guy because, he's the next guy. He's the next guy. At the end of the day, if he wasn't the biggest, baddest dude up next, then he wouldn't be next. And so, yeah, I believe he's the toughest guy out there right now. So, I have to go out there and show them that, I'm just kind of head and shoulders above everyone. So I give him his props. He's done a good job. He's made his way here. Now is my turn to send him backwards.
No doubt. And I want to go back to a quote you gave me before you fought Tyron Woodley to become the champion, and just kind of know what your thoughts are thinking back on that. And I asked you what kind of champion you wanted to be, and you said this: I definitely want to be an active champion, because if you're not fighting, you're not making money. I want to keep it as active as possible, keep knocking these fights out as fast as possible, because that's how you prove your legacy. Obviously, COVID, injuries, things like that changes the complexion of how a lot of things go. But if you kind of look back on that quote now, how would you depict your title reign? Do you feel pretty good about how things have gone, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because, a lot of people don't realize, when this whole situation was happening, I fought December, Covington fight, end of December. And then, the year started and COVID, that situation started, and the fight, Gaethje and Khabib was supposed to take place. Gaethje and Khabib was supposed to take place. And, I think it was Gaethje or Khabib. No, it was Ferguson and Khabib was supposed to take place. And that fight was falling apart. And I told the UFC, I'm willing to step in. And I believe that was somewhere April. And I said, I'm ready to step in if you guys need me. And they said, okay, we're going to work on that fight. And the opponent wasn't ready. And so then, of course, that event ended up getting postponed. And so I said, once again, May 9th or something like that, I'm ready to step in. And so they said, okay, we'll talk about it. And it just seemed like it wasn't going to work out because they had secured Gaethje and Ferguson. And there was talks of that June, I think June 6th or something, with the card with Amanda Nunes. And I said, I'm ready. If they needed me, I'm ready. So it wasn't one of those like, oh, I didn't want to fight all year. It just was, that was the time where something fell in place, which was July. And then after July, a lot of different circumstances happened. A lot of things happened, sickness. And of course, that was towards the height of the pandemic, and also the protests that were going on. So it made things very, very difficult as far as not just training, but also getting out there and competing. And of course, Dana and the UFC has done a good job of pushing through and making sure that fighters can find a way to fight and actually compete and make money. So, hats off to them as well. But, this wasn't us all my doing. I probably would have fought 3 times this year if it was possible.
Totally. And do you think maybe, obviously, like, I think it's kind of hard to say with the COVID times and stuff, but I asked Gilbert that same question. He said, I want to be a really active champion. There's all these guys coming up, blah, blah, blah. But do you think when you're actually in those shoes of being the champion, it's a lot more difficult to understand because you're involved in these big money fights? They're the most high profile names. It's maybe a little bit more difficult to get together. And that's why we usually only see champions fight maybe twice a year. And if we're lucky, 3 or 4.
Absolutely. Experience is the best teacher. All you can do is state what you think you're going to do if you were in that position. But until you're actually in that position, do you really know? So obviously, yeah, now being in a position of understanding how things work and all the things that go on behind the scenes and your requirements and what you're contractually obligated to do. Of course, it changes certain things. Now I understand what it really is, as opposed to what I thought it was going to be and what I thought I was going to do.
What do you think the biggest difference in that sense is between thinking about being the champion and really being the champion?
I would say my time. My time has been the biggest thing because as the challenger, as the number one contender, as the number one, all you can do is just train. You sit at home and train and try to prepare for the guy at the top. That's all you do. But you don't understand that the guy at the top has to not only train for everybody below him, he also has to be able to balance out his family life. He also has to balance out his businesses or something the things that he's doing on the side. He also has to balance out his obligations as far as being a champion. He also has to balance out all the different opportunities that come his way. So it makes it very, very tough. It's tough on your family. It's tough on yourself because you're actually in the driver's seat for all that. So, there's a lot of things that I didn't realize, now that I'm in a position I'm starting to see. But, that's what champions do. That's what champions are made of. It's being able to adapt and get through them.
And this one feels so big just because the winning streak, man. Like, you hit 13 if you win this fight, 13 straight in the UFC. And that's where, GSP's winning streak is stopped. Khabib is there now. There's a few other guys that have got to that 13 straight wins. And then, of course, there's Anderson Silva with the record at 16. So do you feel like you're going to keep this going? Are you going to be the one to break Anderson Silva's record of 16 consecutive UFC wins?
I don't know. Honestly, I never thought about it. I didn't even know before the last one that, close to the fight, they started telling me, George St. Pierre's record was 12, and I've tied that. And, it's not something that I worry about. My main concern is going out there and making sure that my hand gets raised. And as long as I continue to do that, by the time I walk away from the sport, my name will be kind of, inched in every, book there is to put your name on.
And you kick off a hell of a run for the African MMA fighters, man. I mean, you got yourself, then Izzy, then Ngannou, all fighting in title fights. How excited are you to really just get the run going? And within these next 2 months or 3 months, we could have 3 champions of 3 weight classes, or 4. I guess Izzy's going for. So,
yeah, I'm extremely excited. That's how it started in 2019 when me and Izzy became champion. Being able to go out there and get that done, it's a little added bonus, for someone else coming up, because they know that, yeah, it can be done. as opposed to all the critics, all the people behind that say, oh no, African guys can't be champions because MMA is not a humongous sport over there in Africa. But we're paving the way. We're letting everyone know, all these people that look up to us, that yes, it can be done. And I'll go out there and do my job. I know Izzy will go out there and do his job as he always does. And Francis Ngannou is finally going to step up and take what he feels is rightfully his. So it's exciting. It's exciting times to be an African right now, for sure.
Absolutely. And if you can take off maybe your champion hat and put on your analyst hat for a second, because I know you do great work in that regard as well. Some big welterweight fights coming up that I assume are going to set the table for what comes after UFC 258. First, we have Khamzat Chimaev and Leon Edwards fighting in March, I believe. How do you think that one goes down, and who do you think comes out from that one?
That's an intriguing fight. It's a good one because with Leon Edwards, this is what he needed. This is that fight that really kind of lets everyone know that, hey, just because I'm quietly working doesn't mean I'm not working. I'm up next in order to be able to challenge for that belt. So this is a big one for him, and I think he has all the tools. He's very well versed. He's been in that octagon a lot more times, to where I think Khamzat, all his fights put together, haven't even gone past halfway through the first or second, really. And so I would it's a big fight for both. Khamzat he's a terror. He's tearing through those guys right now, and he's done what he's supposed to do with all the opposition put in front of him. So now he needs to just go out there and prove it against a guy that is battle tested. Leon Edwards has gone 5 rounds with Cowboy. He's gone 5 rounds with RDA. So he's been in there with some of the best. And if Khamzat is able to get through him, then he makes a case that he belongs in that upper echelon guys in that division.
Is there anything that bugs you about Khamzat's rise? I mean, you had to do it the hard way, man. Like, you took, 8, 9 fights before you got the championship opportunity, and it seems like he could get after 3 or 4. Is there anything that bugs you about that?
No, absolutely not, because that's just not how I'm built. I'm a worker. I work and I earn everything that I have. And so I think that's what's built the character that I have. And so, no, nothing at all. If that was his journey, that's his journey, and that's what when God said that how his journey was going to be, then that's his journey. That's not for me to look at and be envious of. I'm not. I've followed my path. I've followed my journey, and look where I'm sitting. So no, it doesn't bother me at all. More praises to him, and he's doing a good job with what he's presented with and how he's dealing with it.
Super humble. I appreciate that. And then the other fight, seems we're going to get Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington. Nothing official there, but I'm sure you're kind of pleased one of them might wipe each other out, so you don't have to deal with them both in the near future. But who do you think comes out of that one? I assume whoever wins is probably going to be near a rematch with you.
Yeah, I mean, they're working on it, but we haven't seen anything set in stone yet, and that's the biggest test. I knew how hard it was for those guys to even sound bout agreements to fight me, and both of them on separate occasions. So I can imagine what, the UFC is dealing with, having to try to get both to fight each other. So who knows, may the best men win. And if they look impressive to the point where I'm like, all right, let's do that one again, and I'll do it again. I have no problem with it.
And one person who you won't be fighting, I know, anytime soon is Conor McGregor. And after we saw what happened to him, I mean, I know you said, why do you guys want me to fight this guy? It's going to be horrible for him. Does what happened with Dustin Poirier kind of reaffirm what you were saying about potentially having that fight at some point?
I mean, I knew, it wasn't going to happen unless he woke up on the side of the bed one day and just said, you know what? Yeah, I'm feeling crazy today. Let's do something crazy. I knew it wasn't going to happen, but, it's tough, being in the position that's in, because I felt that. I know what it is to lose, and so I don't wish that on anyone, especially when someone puts in the work that it takes to be able to climb inside that octagon. So, no, I don't wish him any ill will. He goes out there and, he's walking his own journey. He's walking his own path. And, if he's able to rebuild himself and get back in there and compete, then more power to him. I mean, if it's against me, if it's against anybody else, then more power to them, you know. But it's a tough position to be in when you take a loss, especially like that, and especially when you're, you know, in the forefront to where the world is watching. It's very, very tough, and hopefully he's able to bounce back from that.
Unless it's against your man Justin Gaethje, who I know is wanting that fight too, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's a fight that they tried to make forever. Justin doesn't shy away from that. Justin doesn't shy away from any fight. He's a madman when it comes to that. And that's a fight that should have happened. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, what's more, if you're looking at someone, if Khabib is truly done and you're looking for the next guy to be able to step in there and fight for that title, I mean, it's Justin Gaethje versus, you know, someone else. And I thought the fight should have been Conor and Justin, but you know, Dustin has definitely proven himself. Dustin is a warrior as well, and it's, you know, he definitely went out there and made the best of that opportunity. You know, now it's crazy when you look at it, because all three of those guys, their last loss came to one man, the same man, and so it's a tough one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a scary thing. And two last things on your fight before I let you go. I really appreciate the time, Kamaru. You're fighting in the small cage this time in the Apex. What do you think about that compared to what you did out there on Fight Island?
Makes no difference for me. I'm built to go, and that's what I do, and that's what's always been successful for me. So it makes no difference whether it's in a small cage, big cage. It just kind of, you know, that small cage. One thing that it does is it increases the activity and the output, and that's not something that I've ever been shy of. So, you know, whether it's in a small cage or big cage, it makes me no difference. I'm still gonna go out there and do my job.
And last thing, what do you want this year to look like for you? I mean, we just kind of talked about the 2-year anniversary of your title reign would come up in March, and if you could look ahead to maybe forecast, maybe not just the next year, but maybe the next 2 years, what do you want it to be?
I want to be after I go out there and take care of business with Gilbert Burns. I'm looking to do something now. It's very rare nowadays to be the first at anything, and I've been the first as far as being the first African-born champion in the history of the sport. But I'm looking at we need. It's about time. I think it's time that Africa gets a card. That it's a time that African sons are able to go home and put on a performance and entertain their fans and their people. And I think that's what's next on the agenda in order to reach that legendary status to where you're just, you know, cemented in there forever. I think we need to go to Africa for sure.
And what a moment that would be, especially if all three of you guys win these upcoming title fights. You can imagine. Hopefully we can get through all this though and like do it with a full crowd. That would be such a special moment, I believe.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome, man. Well, we really appreciate you taking this time so close to the fight and everything, Kamaru. Really excited to see you back in there, and best of luck with these final few days leading in.
My pleasure, my man. Thank you so much.